Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, I would encourage you to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon. Today I want to talk about, I want us to think about accents, the sound of people's voices. I've always been fascinated with accents. Of course, I live here in the United States. United States is made up mostly of immigrants or descendants of immigrants. And so I'm fascinated with people's voices, their accents that come from other countries. Even children of immigrants, I think, carry accents along with them. And so probably if you played for me a dozen different voices from people from other countries outside the U.S., I could tell you some accents that I preferred over others, but I'm fascinated again with accents. In the United States, we have a vast variety of accents. I'm from Texas. I clearly have a Texas accent. I'll talk about that later in the video. You can tell from the title of my video, I have a question that I want you to answer about my own accent, but I clearly have a Texas accent. I did spend the last 20 years in Texas, in Southeast Texas. So we had a lot of people from southern Louisiana that lived in Southeast Texas, and people from Louisiana have an accent, especially Cajuns that speak both English and French. And even different parts of Texas have unique accents. I'm from the piney woods of East Texas. My wife makes fun of my accent, and I guess you could say I came from behind the pine curtain, but even in East Texas we talk a little different than Southeast Texas. Now, the summer of 2023, my family and I moved to North Carolina, and there's a lot of similarities between the way we speak in North Carolina and the way we spoke in Texas, but there are some differences. There is some there is a North Carolina accent here in the southern part of the United States. I could clearly hear it when I first moved here. I've been here almost 2.5 years. I really don't notice the North Carolina accent. One of my grown children in Texas told me I've kind of picked up some of that. I know my children have already started picking up some of the North Carolina accent. So we do all have unique accents, which I think it just adds flavor to life. I like the fact that people from all over America have different accents. I mean, people in Boston talk different than they do in Texas, people in California, people from New York. You know, sometimes you can tell where somebody's from just by the sound of their voice. So again, it's fascinating. Again, I have a question about my own accent. I'm going to address that question when I get on the bike, but I'd like to know, where are you from? Do you think you have an accent, or do you think you sound like a lot of our newscasters? A lot of our network newscasters, they really don't seem to have an accent anymore. You really can't tell where they're from by just the way they pronounce words. But again, stay tuned. I'm going to talk a little bit about my own Texas accent and address the question that I would love for all of you to answer. Before weighing in on my accent, I intentionally wanted you to see me speaking before you just heard the audio, because I've noticed sometimes if I'm seeing someone speak, I really don't notice their accent. It's more when I just hear an audio recording, because I've seen Joel Osteen many times on TV preaching. I've been to Lakewood Church once in person, and I never really noticed Joel Osteen's Texas accent until I listened to just an audio recording of him preaching. That's when I realized, oh my goodness, Joel Osteen has a Texas accent. Well, I clearly have a Texas accent. I didn't really notice that so much until several years ago. I was editing one of my videos. A few years ago, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to take off 3 days, go ride the Texas Hill Country, ride the three Twisted Sisters, the Twisted Sisters. At that time, my wife was not riding with me very often, and she really surprised me. She said, I'll get my mom to keep the kids and I'll go with you under one condition. And I'm like, what's that? She said, if you'll trailer your bike there. She didn't want to ride the 288 miles to the hill country from Southeast Texas. So I said, if you'll go, I'll rent the trailer. I did. We had an incredible time. Did start running a low-grade fever. That was the summer of 2020, July. Came home and tested positive for COVID, but we still had a good time. But when I first got to the really scenic part, there was a really wide shoulder. I decided I'm going to pull over and turn my GoPro camera on. Well, I underestimated the slope. You know, everything is so flat and straight along the Texas Gulf Coast in southeast Texas. I very much underestimated the slope. I pulled off at a significant angle. By the time my right foot reached the ground, that motorcycle was severely leaning to the right. And I told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to drop it. Well, she kind of slid off the passenger seat and was able to help me not drop the bike. We did not drop the bike on the side of the road. If I'd been by myself, I might have. And so what I said in that video is I said, thankfully my wife and I are both very tall. And because we're tall and have long legs, we were able to keep the bike from falling. Notice how I say the word tall. T-A-L-L. It seems like it takes me forever to say the word tall. I have a grown daughter that likes to drink Sprite. And so at a restaurant, you know, somebody asks her, ma'am, what would you like to drink? She'll say Sprite. Or I can't really say it like she does, but she drags Sprite out. So we clearly have an accent in Texas. Give you some examples. This is the truth. I can't believe I'm admitting it on YouTube, but if a word ends in I-N-G, we drop the G in normal conversation. We are walking, talking, spitting. On Sunday, I'm preaching. We're licking that sucker. We're looking at something. If it ends in ing, that G is gone. And the way we pronounce the days of the week are kind of interesting. It is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I have to really concentrate to say Sunday, because casual conversation, it comes out Sunday. So again, I clearly have this Texas accent, but more than once in the comment section of my YouTube channel, people have said that I sound like Hank Hill. When I had my Harley, somebody commented that I sounded like Hank Hill on a Harley. And I don't think they were really complimenting me by saying that. You know, hopefully it was in good fun, but you never know. Sometimes people do say hateful things in the comment section. One of my videos, apparently they got a little bored because they said my video was brought to you by Ambien. I think that's a sleeping medication, which I never understood why people say ugly things on purpose. I mean, if you don't like the video, just, you know, don't watch, don't subscribe, and, you know, click the dislike thing if you like. But I never understood people. But, you know, when they tell me I sound like Hank Hill, again, I'm assuming that is in just fun. So maybe I do. That's what I want to know. Leave in the comments. Do I sound like Hank Hill? If you're not familiar with Hank Hill, he was one of the characters on a cartoon called King of the Hill. Hank was the dad. The dad had a son named Bobby. The dad sold propane and propane accessories. So he talked a lot about propane and Bobby. So I need to know, when I say propane or Bobby or anything else for that matter, do I really sound like Hank Hill? Now, the cartoon setting was supposed to be a suburb of a city in Texas. I suspect it may have supposed to have been a Dallas suburb, and I actually spent part of my childhood living in a Dallas suburb, so you know, I may very well sound like Hank Hill. I know I clearly have a Texas accent, but as I said at the beginning, I'm fascinated with accents. I think It adds flavor. I love, again, just to sit and listen to people speak who have an accent. You know, maybe some people are embarrassed by their accents. I'm not. This is, you know, I grew up speaking this way. Again, my wife picks on me, but you know, it's just the way I speak. One of the YouTubers I really like to watch, I'm gonna go blank now, but the Bogey Biker, I believe. He is from Texas, and he clearly has a Texas accent as well. If you listen to him, you may notice his accent's probably a little different than mine, because Texas is so vast that even in Texas, we don't all sound alike. But again, I think it just adds flavor. If you've got an accent, do you try to cover it up? Do you feel like you don't have an accent at all? Some people don't. I mean, as I said earlier, they sound like a newscaster reporting the evening news on a major network, and you really can't pick up where they're from. I think Southerners, you know, from Texas all the way to North Carolina, we are Southerners, and I do think we certainly have a Southern accent. And again, you know, people from especially the city of New York and other places, you know, have their own distinct accents. But again, I want to know, do I really sound like Hank Hill on a Harley Davidson or now on an Indian? Okay, you used to ride with me a lot, and there was a message you would give the YouTube audience. Do you remember what that message was?
Make sure to like and subscribe.
One more thing.
And ring the bell icon.
Oh yeah, okay. One more thing after that. Something down below.
Oh, and comment down below.
Yes, and remember, if you like to ride, just ride as much as you can, because one day, what's going to happen?
You'll be too old.
Well, just right. One day
and die.
We will be old and die, but one day we'll be too old to ride. All right, Samantha, thank you for participating in my little YouTube channel.
So welcome.
Tell everybody goodbye.
Bye-bye.